Hey, Gary Cox here. I'm going to do a short video here on the pros and cons of living in Anchorage, Alaska. I've lived here in and out since 1966. Came here permanently in 1974, so I've spent over 50 years of my life here now. I don't know, I'm still here. It's a great place to live. I love it. It's you get a good feeling of living in a city, and you don't have the crowds of somewhere in what we call the lower 48. I remember somebody I was talking to, they said, how big's Anchorage? I said about 300,000. Oh, that's a lot like Anaheim. Yeah, the biggest difference between Anchorage and Anaheim's 300,000 people is that Anaheim's surrounded by 12 million people, and we have a 40-minute drive to get to another 15,000 people, and then a 5-hour drive to get to another 20,000. So Anchorage sits alone. The population of the whole state of Alaska is 730,000 people, and we're roughly 300,000 people here. And if you take a look at size-wise, we have 650 plus thousand square miles in Alaska. Anchorage is about 1,700 of those. It's actually the fourth largest municipality in the whole country. And about 40% larger than Rhode Island. If you're thinking of moving to Alaska, I've got some pros for here. Lifestyle is one of them. If you're moving to Anchorage, just let me tell you now, Alaska is about a 90-minute drive away. Anchorage is a very cohesive city in the middle of a really vast wilderness area. So we have 223 parks in the city, 250 miles of trails. People go hiking trails, biking trails. We have 250 miles in the local trail system, and we have 135 paved bike trails. So very low traffic, high mobility city. So if you're in one part of Anchorage, it really doesn't matter where you live. You're about 10 or 15 minutes maximum from anywhere. Rush hour traffic is an extra 5 minutes to get all the way across town. So we'll complain about traffic. It just really isn't that bad. So for employment, primary employers are government, oil and gas, medical industry, and service industry. So the other thing is we have a big airport component. All of the freight that's going to Europe and certainly Asia, most of it going to Europe, passes through the Anchorage hub here for UPS, FedEx, U.S. Postal Service, and all the other minor freight companies. They hub here in Anchorage. So if you take a world view and put a pin in Anchorage, it's equidistant to New York, to Tokyo, to Dallas, to London. It's just right in the center of the world. So because people fly over the globe, they don't fly around it. So huge opportunities for if you're technician minded, technically minded. So you want to work in construction, you want to work skilled blue collar plumbers, electricians. If you want to have a small business, handyman service, huge demand for people that want to work up here. So just like I guess everywhere in the States right now, finding somebody that wants to work is kind of tough. And so huge demand for that. If we talk about tax burden up here, it's the lowest tax burden of any state. So and part of that's because there's no state income tax, there's no state sales tax, in Anchorage there's no there's no city sales tax. We do have most of our local revenues are derived from property taxes. So property taxes are about 1.7 mils. That's a fancy way of saying 1.7%. So property taxes can be a little bit high here in Anchorage. As far as the state goes, 85% of the revenue of the state is derived from oil revenues. If you want to look at the whole tax burden and you calculate in, as some of you may be aware, we have a permanent fund dividend that's paid out of the earnings of the oil surplus that's been created for the last 40 years. We get, this year it's projected to be about $1,300. So if you're a family of 5, you have about $8,000 coming. So most Alaskans, as far as Alaska taxes go, are kind of tax neutral. And in fact, if you're a family of 5, family of 6, depending on your income level, after all your exemptions, you may have a very low tax threshold at all. Weather, gorgeous summer days. It's July right now. Sunrise is going to be at 4:30 this morning, and its sunset's going to be at 11:36 tonight. You can play golf until midnight, so you could tee off at 7 o'clock at night and finish a round of golf. It's glorious. Fishing, softball, all kinds of sports are going on all over the city, all the time, all summer long. We're losing about 2 minutes a week. Our solstice was about 2 weeks ago at the time of this recording, and we'll finally be losing about 6 minutes a day, and so we lose about 35 minutes to 40 minutes a week finally. So the days start shrinking until we get to winter solstice. So summertime averages here in Anchorage, we're running between 60 and 70 degrees, and we can have highs as high as in the 80s and 90s, where it's really hot because it never cools down. In this particular summer, we're having a little bit more cloudy days, and it has never really seemed to warm up too much. Okay, let's talk about the cons. The weather. Anchorage has about a 5.5, 6 month winter. We say we have 2 seasons. You have summer and you have winter. And winter starts getting cold by the end of September. First snows typically not until the end of October, but it can come as early as October 15th. But the last few years we've been lucky. We've had first snows into November. Last snows this year came in May, but sometimes we see beautiful April. So for sure you have October, November, December, January, February, March. You have 6 full months of winter time. The other thing, the job sectors here, it's primarily oil and gas, and it's government and the airport, but it's kind of limited to there. So if a lot of service jobs, seasonal employment for some of the construction type activities, so we can be a little bit limited by depending on what time of year you're coming in. Parks, well, they're a great opportunity for us. It's to recreate. It creates a real bottleneck on Anchorage. We have no more available land in Anchorage to really develop. There's some large tracts, people are going after them, but the big development is over within Anchorage. So we're surrounded on one side by Cook Inlet, comes in from the Pacific Ocean. That's where our harbor is. And then on the northern side of the city, we have military bases. And on the eastern side of the city and all the way south, we're surrounded by state parks. That leads also to taxes. So while we're the lowest tax state, and being dependent on one industry, it's we have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with the oil companies. So when times are good, we're all mad that they're not paying enough, and when times are bad, we're mad at ourselves for taxing them too hard, so the revenues go down. So it's we have one industry pays all of it, so the fortunes rise and fall with the oil prices. So overall, I've been here for 55 years. I love it. Don't see myself leaving anytime soon. If you have questions on it, feel free to give me a call, 907-727-4279, or visit me at callkinggary.com. Okay, thank you.